All right, welcome back, everyone. Peak Human is going still. We got episode 3 from my big break. We got Mark Sisson today. Just got off with him. Super fun talking to him. He's the man. He just turned 72 yesterday. Still rips, still the healthiest guy around. This episode was awesome. We talked about alcohol consumption. We talked about sunburn, sunscreen, skin cancer. We talked about the Hadza and electrolytes and water consumption. We talked about the sugar diet, which is a new trend these days. We talked about his new diet and lifestyle, just update, what he's doing, what he's eating. And I think you're going to like this one. Check out Nose to Tail. That's my company. I don't have advertisers to the podcast, so support us. We got the oyster pills, which are amazing. The only pill I've ever taken that I can actually feel it working. So I don't count it much as a supplement because it's just oysters ground up into a pill. And it really works. I'm telling you, men and women, got to try it. They call it an aphrodisiac. There's actually reasons why it's aphrodisiac. It has zinc, selenium, copper, all these things that your body needs to make its hormones. So check out that at nosetotale.org. We got the body care products from beef tallow and the biltong. Eat some meat on the go. We got the liver sticks too. It's called livervores. It's a stick with liver and beef, and it's great. But enough about that. This is a great episode. We talked about food lies too, how it's coming. It's coming. Finally, we got a production company behind us. So the end is in sight. Keep up with everything on my Food Lies Instagram. I'm on X, Facebook as well. And like always, go back, listen to the old episodes. There's so many good ones. I don't always do repeat guests like I do with Mark. So you have to go back to listen to those good ones and enjoy this one with Mark. Mark Sisson, the legend. Happy birthday.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks, Brian. Good to be here.
Oh, yeah. So you turned 72 yesterday.
Right.
So you look great. If people don't know who you are or what you look like, go on your Instagram, Google you. You made a post.
Yeah. No, I just, this was sort of a annual thing. I do a little update on where I'm at with my health. And I think probably starting 20 years ago, I made a goal to show people what I thought 70 should look like. And, that's 2 years ago. And I'm continuing to just sort of update on that basis. So I'm not trying to make a big deal of it, but I did a post yesterday and, had some shots and some explanations of how I live my life now and, what my fitness goals are and what I'm trying to accomplish in terms of, knowledgeably aging appropriately, I guess. Right. And, it's this weird thing where now the world is all about living longer and, trying to get to 160 or 180 years old. I'm like, no, dude, I'm just trying to get to 90 or 95 and, have all my faculties and be mobile enough to enjoy life.
That's the goal. Yeah. Health span. And yeah, maybe there's going to be some breakthroughs in the future, but I mean, that's all I care about too. Yeah. Getting to like 90, 95.
Yep.
Oh yeah. You look great. If people haven't seen the photos, you look absolutely shredded. What is your current kind of diet and lifestyle?
Well, I've been talking about this for 25 years now. It's based on a low carb eating strategy, which morphed over the years from paleo to the Primal Blueprint, which is my own particular brand, to a little bit of keto-ish, to carnivore, and remains low carb. That's really the through line, all with the intention of building metabolic flexibility. And I've talked about metabolic flexibility probably more than anybody has over the past 15 years. I think metabolic flexibility is the holy grail of any way of eating or any way of exercising. You want to develop the ability to burn your own stored body fat throughout the day and to be able to call on those fat stores when you don't eat or when you choose not to eat or when it's inconvenient to eat or when you're doing a particular workout that's below 85% of your VO2 max. You ought to be able to derive most of your energy from your own stored body fat. So developing this metabolic flexibility, what it allows you to do is arrive at an ideal body composition. It allows you to burn off that stored body fat and to build muscle, to have all the energy you want throughout the day, to never get sick, and most importantly, to not be hungry, right? I mean, I talk to people all the time about the way I'm eating, and I'm an intermittent faster, so I typically don't eat breakfast. I don't eat until 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I do my workouts in the morning, fasted, and I get all sorts of eyebrows raised as to how are you able to build muscle, and how are you able to have the energy to do that? Well, I'm metabolically flexible, and I'm able to derive the energy from stored body fat, and that's kind of how I've orchestrated my life. And look, I don't do 3-hour workouts either. I mean, I sort of compress my life and my eating strategy and my workout strategy into what I would call the minimum effective dose. So what's the minimum effective dose of exercise that I can do to maintain muscle mass or build muscle mass? What's the minimum effective dose of intervals I can do to get me to a VO2 max that is impressive but not world class? Because I don't want to build a world class VO2 max. We could talk about why that is. What's the least amount of time I can spend in the gym lifting weights and build 90 or 95% of the muscle that I could build if I triple the amount of time I spent in the gym. So I'm looking for these, I hate to use the word hacks because I'm the anti-biohacker, but I'm looking for these, secret codes, these hidden genetic switches that we all have, where we can find an optimal amount of work, an optimal behavior, whether it's amount of sleep, amount of sun exposure, that turns on the genes that build muscle, burn fat, do all the things that create a healthy, strong, lean, fit body with the least amount of discipline and all other of the negative implications that we ascribe to being fit. Look, I do this intuitively. I've gotten to the point right now where I'm able to eat without thinking about what I'm eating. I just know, what list of foods I'm going to choose to consume, and I do my workouts on a daily basis based on how I feel, not on what I wrote down as a goal. The south of France here, and I paddle twice a week now, and it's a hard workout. I go at least an hour, and I'm focused on the work. I mean, I'm enjoying one of the most beautiful views in the world for stand-up paddling, so that's incredible. But I'm using all the upper body strength that I built in the gym, and I'm applying it to a real world, real life situation on the paddleboard. So it's that combination of breaking it down into the component parts in the gym by doing specific machines and specific free weights and specific body part exercises and body weight exercises. The aerobic capacity and VO2 max built with the intervals, and then applying them to a longer, more endurance type workout, but still something that is enjoyable and that in and of itself builds strength and resilience and capacity, because it's not like I'm just doing those as an outlet for having done work in the gym. I do the work in the gym to prepare, and then I go do this run today. I will be a stronger athlete tomorrow as a result of the run that I did today.
Yeah, and sports too. I know we played ultimate frisbee years ago, shooting for food lies. So that's just play is one of your pillars
Yes.
too.
Yeah. And let's be clear, when I say I ran today, at no point did I ever run more than 200 yards. It's
Mhm.
a hard hike with some sprints and some, in the old days we called it fartlek, speed play. But it was a higher heart rate activity than just hiking, shall we say.
Mhm. Yeah, I like the mixed stuff. I mean, that's kind of what ultimate frisbee is too. It's like you sprint and then you're kind of like jogging around, then you sprint and then you jog around. It's very like,
Yeah.
functional.
Yep. Except when you sprint for the end zone to anticipate a long pass from your thrower and somebody else intercepts the disc and you have to sprint back on defense.
Well, you train for that. Yeah, we
You
we
know what
had
I mean?
yeah, I don't know if I did that or not. It was crazy. Just a quick update too, because my audience always asks, and you might want to know. Food Lies, yeah, we signed with a production company 2 weeks ago. So now we're going the full path of Netflix or huge streaming platform. Maybe get a A-list celebrity, like doing it big, 6-part series.
Great.
It's been a long time, but
Yeah.
it's going to be worth it.
Yeah. And by the way, what's interesting is it's been a long time, but all the information is more relevant than ever, right? It's all been
Mm.
even the stuff that was put in the can 2 years ago or more
Yeah,
has been proven to be more than accurate over the years.
that's
Now it's a real thing.
Yeah, and Maha's a thing, and now that's why the production companies are interested. They're like, "Oh, now everyone else cares about this." I'm like, "Yeah, we've been talking about this for years." And I'm trying to not be wrong. And so yeah, it's good to have. It's not based on like different fads that come around. It's like this is the truth. So yes, it is evergreen content.
Right. Exactly.
So, well, let's get back to food. So you're talking about metabolic flexibility is huge, but that means you can't burn carbs or fat. Most people, they can not burn fat, right? They're just metabolically damaged. They're in the 88 to 93% of the US. So they're never tapping into their body fat. But you still, so obviously, yes, if you going lower carb, you can access your body fat, but you can still burn carbs. I've been eating more whole food carbs lately. Have you been doing that? Like, you can still eat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, when I say low carb, there are days here in France when I'm having, I don't know, 200 grams of carbs, which I think is a lot of carbs. I mean, if you look at the average American diet, standard American diet might be 500 grams of carbs a day or something like that. But for me, writing the Primal Blueprint 15 years ago, 16 years ago, and I made this graph of food intakes, and I arrived at a point where I thought nobody needs more than 150 grams of carbs a day unless you're a really um, either a competitive athlete or you're trying to be, a top performer. Nobody needs more than 150 grams a day.
Mhm,
Now, I can, in building metabolic flexibility, there are days when I can consume 200, 250 grams of carbs. I don't see ever consuming more than that. I mean, I just don't, because I eat a lot of, when I eat carbs, they're in the form of vegetables, and vegetables don't really offer that much in the way of a volume of energy in the form of carbs. So it's bread, pasta, cereal, and I don't eat bread, pasta, cereal that much. Now, again, in the south of France, I'll have a slice or two of pizza. Once in a while, I'll have a couple of bites of spicy rigatoni. I don't withhold those from me, but I also don't order them up as a main
mhm,
course. So yeah, I burn carbs, I burn glucose.
mhm,
And I would tell you that last night I had some sourdough bread as a dessert with some
mhm,
peanut butter and jelly, and it was freaking awesome.
mhm.
And
Well,
so that's probably, I probably tapped into that when I did my harder sets on this hike today. So it wasn't a completely fat burning workout that I did today because I was probably in my 85 to 90% threshold zone there for periods of time from anywhere from 3 or 4
mhm,
minutes to 7 or 8 minutes at a time, and then back down to fat burning zone. So yeah, you never lose the ability to burn carbs. Glucose
mhm,
is sort of it's the ubiquitous energy system of a lot of cells from, you know, billions of years ago. So glucose is a fuel and everybody knows how to burn it. The real skill is in learning how to burn stored body fat, learning how to build the metabolic machinery in your brain to utilize ketones so you don't feel hungry and you don't feel off kilter because of low blood sugar. But yeah, everybody's always retains the ability to go glycolytic.
yeah. Well, and it's a great message because some people are so strict in this diet community, they almost have orthorexia. So it's like, if you wanna be able to do this for life, you need to be able to do things like this,
Well,
and
that's why the term metabolic flexibility allows so much leeway. Like you can go hardcore keto for 3 weeks. In fact, I wrote a book called the Keto Reset Diet, which uses a ketogenic diet to reset your metabolism to achieve metabolic flexibility. And you can reset it with a low carb strategy, with an intermittent fasting strategy. And then as long as you don't go, off the rails with 500 grams of sugary carb dessert every night for 2 weeks, you'll retain that metabolic flexibility. And especially if you're doing any sort of glycolytic work in the gym or doing, walking a lot, which is primarily a fat burning activity in
Mhm,
and of itself. So there's they're all ways, manners of achieving metabolic flexibility. And once you get there, you allow yourself the room to eat a much more varied diet, and it's a wonderful thing. It's most of the ways of eating that we've talked about over the years that have been so regimented are unsustainable.
mhm,
I mean, a ketogenic diet is unsustainable to me. I don't have any interest in not ever eating more than 45 grams of carbs a
yeah,
day. That makes no, it just doesn't sound fun. So I'd rather just operate off of this concept of metabolic flexibility and be aware that a combination of low carb days or weeks at a time, a combination of intermittent fasting or extended fasting, a combination of long zone 2 or better lower base building interspersed with some Tabatas or intervals. All of those will reinforce this metabolic flexibility that I've built and keep me revving at high enough energy level that I don't get hungry. I build muscle. I have all the energy I want all the time. I sleep well. I don't have, pre-diabetes or metabolic problems in any regard like that. I mean, I had my blood work done about a month ago in advance of taking this trip, and my fasting insulin was the highest it's been in, I don't know, 5 years. And if you know anything about fasting insulin, anything below 20 is considered good. It was the highest it's been in 5 years. It was two,
Wow. Huh.
because it's usually between 1 and 1.5.
Yeah.
And that's a great indicator of metabolic flexibility.
Yes, and there's a debate kind of in the world about what are bad about the carbs or bread or pasta in America compared to Europe. What do you think? Because some people are saying it's not even the gluten, it's just that in America we have all the glyphosate or it's just different hybrids. What do you have a opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, a combination of all of the things you just said. It could be a lot of glyphosate issues for some people. There was in the early days of paleo, when Lauren Cordain was talking about it, it was this, red dwarf wheat that had been bred for its high protein content. Well, the protein in wheat is gluten. So
Hmm.
the grains had been um, modified over the years to increase the amount of gluten in them, which made it real problematic for people who have gluten
Mhm.
sensitivities, gluten intolerances, or celiac. Not so much in Europe. So they have this number two wheat that they make pasta from in Europe, and I can, I'm fairly sensitive to wheat. I mean, the origin of the Primal Blueprint was when I went 30 days without eating grains, and my life changed. So I've identified my wheat sensitivity and my grain sensitivity over the years. And because I've healed myself, I mean, I had a horrible, horrible leaky gut. I mean, I had irritable bowel syndrome for 30 years. It ran my life. And once that went away and once that healed, and it healed through a combination of those foods that were causing the leaky gut, through eating more collagen and repairing the gut tissue with collagen, through probably a little bit more of a carnivore-ish diet and understanding that fiber is not the wonderful
Mhm.
panacea for gut issues that many gastroenterologists continue to say it is. Fiber is, in some regards, antithetical to good health, especially the fiber that you would find in grains. But understanding that the gut bacteria, the biome, the microbiome, can thrive on a very low fiber diet, provided you're eating a little bit more nose to tail, uh, because those those bacteria can create the short chain fatty acids from meat products, from animal products. Right? They don't need the fiber from fruit to be able to do that. So once you realize all of these different variables and all these things, how they work sort of synergistically, I arrived at a place where I healed my gut, I healed my microbiome, and now I can eat a piece of
Mhm.
bread, or have a couple of or a couple of bites of pizza or servings of pizza or whatever it is, without paying a huge price.
Mhm.
Now, friends of ours like Rob Wolf can't do that. Rob to this day claims it's just
Mhm.
it's a horrible thing for him to go off his program. But in my case, because I healed my gut and because I enjoy a wide variety of food, I'm able to partake of things that I would not have chosen 10 years
Mm.
ago.
Yeah. Rob was just in Austin actually at my place, Sapient Center, last
Yeah.
Friday.
Okay.
So that was cool. We did a little workout in sauna. Yeah, no, I think the human body is amazing. It can handle acute stresses, right? If the goal should be to heal yourself so you can be more flexible and the body can handle something, which is another topic I wanted to bring up, like alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like an acute stress. It's
Yep.
you don't want to do it all the time, and that's a chronic stress. So you kind of have a contrarian take on wine or alcohol in general.
Yeah. Well, all these things that we're talking about in that we ingest exist on a spectrum, and so there's not a list of everything over here is horrible and everything over here is wonderful. Foods exist on the spectrum. Seed oil is a great example. Not all seed oils are horrible for you, even though seed oils become a big
Mhm.
topic of discussion. And so, with regard to what were we talking about?
Alcohol. Yeah. Yeah.
Alcohol. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. With regard to alcohol, the body makes alcohol. We have a mechanism in our liver that makes alcohol, and we burn it off as a fuel. It's a byproduct of some of the energy processes. So the body does make ethanol, and ethanol offers 7 calories per gram. It's actually a fuel source, and the human body can burn 30 or 35 grams within a few hours of ingestion and not have it be problematic. Now, when I look at all of the people who say any amount of ethanol is horrible for you, I'm like, okay, well then we have a problem here because your body's making ethanol at some point right now. So there's that. And also, the body, we burn glucose as a fuel, and 5 milligrams of glucose in the bloodstream is considered an appropriate amount. 1 teaspoon of glucose in the bloodstream is appropriate. But if you get up to 7 or 8 grams in the bloodstream, now you're problematic. Now you're pre-diabetic. Now your A1C is going to climb. So an excess of this wonderful fuel, glucose, an excess of it is problematic and dangerous. So if we now look at, okay, we've got glucose, which is toxic in excess, and ethanol, which is a fuel that the body can burn, but is toxic in excess, then what's an appropriate amount of ethanol that we could take in? And, this depends, a lot of this is variable to the individual who has, single nucleotide polymorphism, SNPs, that may cause a problem in processing alcohol, which is a case with, people who have real strong organic issues with alcoholism and cannot drink alcohol at all. But for those who can and those who don't have a problem, some amount of alcohol is probably okay. And in my case, I defend the consuming of red wine.
Mhm.
And there are again in the context of that versus a sugary Four Loco, high alcohol beverage on the spectrum of horrible to not so bad. I drink dry farm wines. So these are wines that are lower in alcohol, that have no sugar. Look, sugar being a part of a alcoholic drink is problematic, and I would not want to drink an alcoholic beverage that has sugar in it. So I drink wines that are lower in alcohol, 11 to 12.5%,
Mhm. Mhm.
lower in sugar, like no sugar, like tested for very low sugar content, that have no additives. And in the U.S., the wine industry allows vintners to put in up any one or combination of up to 76 different additives without disclosing them on the label. So I look for wines that have zero additives, zero added sulfite, and that are where the skins are macerated less, because the maceration of the red skin is what gives wine their deep red color, red wine.
Mhm.
And that's also where the tannins are in the histamine. So people who have histamine problem with wine, it's probably from the over maceration of the wineskin. So if you remove all of those variables and you say, okay, I'm going to drink a low alcohol wine that has lower sugar or zero sugar, no sulfites, no added sulfites, no added additives, and I'm going to limit myself to 2 glasses a night, knowing that my body can burn 30 to 35 grams of ethanol within a several hour period, then I'm sort of found my sweet spot. I can drink wine with a meal
Mhm.
without any negative aspect, without any sleep issues, without waking up feeling groggy. And that's kind of my defense for those people who say, look, I want a glass of wine once in a while, but the conventional wisdom of 2024 and 2025 is any amount of alcohol is bad for you. So that's, sorry about the long-winded explanation.
Mhm. No, I like it. Yeah, they gotta give context. It's a nuanced topic. Hopefully, we get into more of these nuanced topics. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Huberman, some of these people. I mean, I don't want to promote alcohol use.
No, 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 of course
If
not.
you, yeah, if you don't, yeah, it's great. The younger generations these days aren't drinking alcohol. It's great. We have Sapien Center events. There's no alcohol there. Some there is. Some we get dry farm wines. But
Yep.
it's it just makes more sense if you know the biology that your body, can produce ethanol, can handle it. And I don't know, what about sleep though? But it seems like most people they have the little rings and whatnot, and they say that their sleep is worse.
Well, if their sleep is worse, then either they're drinking too much or at the wrong time of day or the wrong type of alcohol, and pay attention to that. It will probably raise your heart rate a little bit, but I drink with dinner. In my case, I drink wine with dinner. I finish drinking, I finish my last glass at least 2 hours or maybe three before I go to sleep.
Mm.
It's not problematic for me at all.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, as long as you're not doing it like close to bedtime. I like to localize it to just Saturday. That's my kind of
That's great.
rule,
That's
right?
great.
It's just like I'm here. I want to be social. I don't want to like some of the best times of my life are at midnight. I'm
Yeah,
staying up. I'm having fun. I just think that's part of being human.
of course.
Yeah. Well, this might not be the message a lot of people hear, but yeah, again, do what works for you. So, what about the sugar diet? You've heard about this because we're talking about
Yeah,
carbs and all that earlier. And there's people that I don't know. It seems like they're contrarians or they want to go with the newest trend. It's always something new.
yeah. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I know Mark Bell's been a big proponent of that. I love Mark. He's a great guy and he's always experimenting. So, I could make an argument that he has done so much work on himself for the past 5 years between carnivore-ish, keto-ish, sprinting, running, and all the things that he's experimented with, that he's probably developed a pretty robust digestive system and a pretty robust glucose tolerance so that a short period of time on a high sugar diet isn't going to, derail him that much.
Mm.
Um, I could, the argument would be, Ray Peat started this a long time
Yeah.
ago. We were talking about this. The argument would be, if I were to lay it out in paleo terms, that our ancestors who lived in temperate climates had seasons of available food sources. And in the summer, there was plentiful supplies of meat, and they could consume a lot of meat, and they could get all their protein in. And as the end of the year came along, and as fall came along, and there was the possibility of facing a famine or periods of time without food over the winter, it made sense to consume lots of fruit. So fruit tends to ripen toward the end of the growing season, toward the end of summer. Now you consume a lot of fruit. Fructose easily converts into stored body fat. It would make sense that you would overconsume, your brain would be wired to overconsume fruit, convert it into fat, and then store it conveniently around the center of gravity on your bipedal form, right? So
Mm.
you tend to store this fuel that you're going to carry with you on the belly, on the hips, on the thighs, on the butt, and that way you can continue to migrate and forage and do all the human activities, even though you're carrying 10 or 15 extra pounds that you're going to depend on to get you through a sparse winter. So that's kind of the story that I would tell about why a high carb, high sugar based, high fructose based diet might factor into human genetics.
Mhm.
Now, how do you apply that to a modern setting where there's candy available everywhere, there's
Mhm.
fruit available everywhere, there's carbs, pies, cakes, candies, cookies, pasta. I don't know. I don't understand the science behind the sugar diet, and I think it's probably going to be um, more than problematic, probably disastrous for a number of people who try it. What do you think?
Well, Well, I understand a bit of the science is part of it is that you're not supposed to eat any fat at all or any protein. And it's like if you just are eating pure honey or candy,
Yeah,
there's not much to store. You can't really store,
right.
right? But if you're eating like a normal human, like you said, if you're eating all the meat and then all the fruit, then you're going to store a lot of fat. But carbs, just pure glucose, fructose on your own, you probably won't store much of that.
Yeah, even exactly. So even though insulin runs high as a result of this, um, you're not gonna. Yeah, I guess you're not gonna store a fair amount of fat. And I don't know what happens with, with your
Well,
muscle mass,
that's
and the amino acid pool that gets disrupted here.
that's what I'm saying. There's more problems to it. But I'm just saying if you're gonna do that for a couple days, or if
Yeah,
you do
just
it at
don't eat just don't eat fat or protein. Right.
yeah, you just have
Pick
no
one. Yeah.
fat and
Yeah.
low protein. So that's
Yeah.
what they're saying. That's what they're doing. It's just but there's way more problems with it where are you gonna get your protein? This is not a healthy diet. Where are you getting nutrients?
Yeah. And what are you really shedding body fat doing this? Are you are you cutting up? Are you leaning out doing this?
He says he was, but that's what I'm saying. It's because if you just go low protein, low fat,
Yeah.
you
Anyway,
can temporarily. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's kind
it's
of pointless. But I
I
mean, I
agree.
kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's just people want the next thing, and it's kind of like a shocking thing. I had this idea. We're talking about alcohol in the liver. It's kind of more of a more liver centric view of gaining weight or metabolic problems. And I haven't heard many people talk about it. It's like refined sugars, refined grains, refined oils. These have to and alcohol have to be processed by the liver. And it seems like it's kind of the bottleneck or like the problematic point in people's diets and how they gain visceral fat and gain problems metabolically. Do you kind of think of it that way? I just haven't heard of people talk about it in the
Yeah, I mean,
liver.
I haven't given that a lot of thought to pinpoint it to the liver being the bottleneck, but I could see how you could make a case for that. Sure.
Well, it's like why there's many reasons why processed foods are bad, right? And people gain weight on vacation very easily. And what are they? They're just drinking more alcohol and eating more processed foods. It just makes sense to me. It's just like one of the specific reasons why they're bad is because if we're talking about there's all the calorie debates. It's like what all calories aren't the same,
Right.
and I think that comes down to how your liver has to process them,
Right.
perhaps.
I mean, I think Lane Norton would disagree still, but calories a calorie. But no, I've been a proponent of the context of calories that was probably the fourth post I ever wrote in my life was a post called "The Context of Calories," and why are we assigning any sort of combustible value to amino acids? When the first 30 or 40 grams that we take in are probably going to be used for um, building processes, whether it's muscle or bone or skin or enzymes or whatever. Yeah. So the calorie partitioning, in my estimation, is an important part of orchestrating a diet that works well.
Yeah, I had this idea that we just don't count protein as calories at all. Like,
Yeah.
right? If you could redo a food label, I'd be like, okay, you want more protein calories and then less energy calories
Yeah.
from the fats and carbs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know why. And it's what's really interesting here is, for example, collagen, which is a protein, collagen, and it's a necessary protein. I've argued that it should be the fourth macronutrient for years and years and years. It should be fat, protein, carbohydrate, and collagen, because collagen is different from a well-rounded, full 22 amino acid protein. And collagen it's absolutely necessary for collagen peptides for tendons, ligaments, connective tissue, fascia. As many people say, I think collagen, the form of protein in the body that is collagen, outweighs the form of protein that is muscle in the
Mm,
human body. Nevertheless, if you look at a label of a collagen supplement and it'll say contains 15 grams of collagen, and that'll be 15 grams protein, right? It's
mhm.
listed under the protein,
Yeah, yeah.
but if you ever look at the daily value, it's zero. There is zero daily value on a collagen supplement because humans can't live off it. It was a huge problem in the 80s. There was a diet called the liquid diet, and it was a 500 calorie liquid drink that you would drink throughout 500 calories a day. I think you'd drink it a couple times a day, and this was all you drink. And it was all protein, but it was all derived from collagenous material. It was all sort of um, the after parts of cow slaughtering. So they would make what amounted to bone broth, but a
Mhm.
collagen supplement. And people died because they couldn't live on those calories. They couldn't live on the calories even though it was 500 calories of theoretically of
Pro
collagen,
yeah.
it was not a complete protein, and people got heart problems. They got congestive heart failure. I think 500 people died on this diet. before they realized that, oh yeah, it's not a protein diet, it's collagen diet, because the product was largely collagen, and the human body cannot live on that type of protein. Yeah, it needs it for repair, and it's in addition to regular protein, but you can't survive on it.
Yeah. Well, yes, I agree. I want to go back to you were talking about fiber, and it's not all that's cracked up to be. I had this idea that it's probably your idea as well. They're vegetable like fiber and these vegetables, they're not magical. They're taking up space on your plate, or yeah, they're taking away from you eating processed food. So of course, yes, all the studies show that people who eat more vegetables are healthier. That's because by default they're eating less processed foods. So fiber is an indigestible substance that sometimes hurts people's digestive system, and it's fine. It's there. I get it. And you want some soluble fiber too, right? Soluble fiber can help, with your gut bacteria and get those short chain fatty acids, but you can get those by accident. So people are just like, "Oh, eat more fiber, eat more fiber." I it's kind of dumb to me. It's like you're missing the point. It's eat more whole foods. Eating
Yeah.
whole foods, intact foods is good, but it's not this magical thing. We have to get the fiber. It's getting intact foods. It has water. It has cellular structure. It keeps you full in the short term. And then fat and proteins keep you full in the long term. This is why they're good, not magical fiber.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the reason that fruits and vegetables serve a great purpose as a source of carbs is because the carbs are what we call locked in a fibrous matrix. So they don't just, it's not like taking a spoonful of honey or a tablespoonful of sugar. No, these carbs are locked in this fibrous matrix that takes a while to digest. It takes a while. It's why, you know, diet people would say it's better to eat an orange than drink orange juice.
Hmm.
You want the fiber to slow down the digestion enough that the sugar doesn't enter the gut at one time in one fell swoop, in one large bolus. It's interesting because, do you know the name Konstantin Monastirsky?
I don't know.
So he's a Russian guy who wrote a book years ago, 25 years ago, called The Fiber Menace. And in
Oh
it
yeah.
he described how particularly bran is like this has a horrible effect on the lining of the gut and can cause all sorts of polyps and diverticulitis and things like that. But people assume that fiber like psyllium husk and bran, they have this vision of it scouring the lining of the gut and taking all of the undigested food particles with them and cleaning it out like a chimney sweep cleans out a chimney with a wire brush. And it's nothing could be further from the truth. That's not how it works. And a lot of people who have gut issues, whether it's diarrhea or constipation, and try to fix it with fiber, become worse as a result of this thought process that somehow I need more fiber. I need more fiber. I got to fix whatever it is I'm eating with fiber. If you look at what's going on with the gut biome and what is fecal matter is largely bacterial turnover. It's the bacteria in your gut that don't live more than a couple of hours or a couple of days. And we have 60 to 100 trillion of them in us. So stool, fecal matter, is largely dead bacteria that is exiting the body, having made room for the new cell division bacteria that's
Mm.
taking place further upstream. Now, it's also fecal matter is also undigested food particles, but that would beg the question: why is it undigested? How did it make it that far down
Hmm.
without being
Used.
cleaved
Yeah.
by some enzyme or fermented enough in the gut to extract from the bacteria the butyric acid? So, to the extent that there are undigested food particles in your stool, I would say you have a problem. Not horrible, and depending on who you are, it could be something you've been doing your whole life. But I think that this assumption that we have to consume lots of fiber to make our stools viable and soft and make ourselves regular has been spun out of proportion. And when you think of what a stool really is, it is primarily dead bacteria that is exiting the body. And in the process of doing so, you don't have to have these foot-long turds that you take to prove that your gut is healthy. And we see that with carnivores who always, almost invariably, brag about how regular they are, how well formed their poop is, how they don't fart, and if they do, it doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell horrific because it's not being, it's not a fermentation process. I mean, there's a lot of potential information here that people haven't really explored yet about fiber and its utility in the average human diet. And again, the assumption that we need fiber for the gut, the microbiome, is not necessarily accurate, because people who don't eat any fiber at all have very healthy microbiomes. I mean, some, not all do, but some do. And it's a result of this ability of different types of bacteria in the gut able to extract from the collagen parts of meat, or from other amino acids, or from fats, and to create this butyric acid that feeds themselves, and the lining makes the lining of the gut cells healthy.
Yeah, no, I've seen those studies, and yeah, you can make all the short chain fatty acids, butyric acid you need from fats or collagenous bits, and it's proven. It's just this mainstream thing that people are still obsessed with, and it's fine. I'm not mad at fiber. I mean, if you have digestive problems, maybe you want to eat less of it. But I just think it's stupid to try to get more of it as like this is a magical thing. It's like, I'll say it again. It's like, get whole foods, eat
Yep.
whole foods, and all the building blocks, all the big good stuff you're getting is from probably the animal foods you're eating. You're getting all the protein and vitamins and minerals. Yeah,
Exactly.
you'll get a little vitamin C from an apple. There's not much in an apple. You know what I mean? If you look
No.
at the nutrition facts on apple, it's like 0, 0, 1, 3,
Yeah.
0.
Mostly
There's
sugar. Yeah.
yeah. But people just think it's magical. It's like, okay, well, I still can eat apples, but it's my dessert, and it's just sort of filling up my stomach. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't look at fiber, I look at a volume of food. It's like we're talking about being full is such a huge thing, satiety, and you're saying most people need to lose weight, lose fat, and most people are always hungry.
Yep.
So the solution is to be full. So some of that is just having volume plus having the proteins and fats.
Exactly.
So, okay, I got a couple other things. I've been on X talking about the Hadza and salts and sweat and hydration, and Herman Ponzer jumped in. You familiar with the Harvard professor guy, Herman Ponzer?
I know the name, but I don't. I can't cite his work.
He wrote the book Burn, which actually was pretty good. I read it. It's about that hunter gatherers actually expend about the same amount of energy as
That's right.
humans,
That's right. That's where it comes from.
right?
I've
That's
cited this
his
study.
newer
Yeah.
book.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, he's just sort of this mainstream guy that's like always against anything that we talk about. But I was talking about the Hadza, and they don't seem to sweat, they don't seem to drink water, and they don't seem to use salt. And it's this weird thing. I wrote up this whole article about it, and I want to get your take on it. And they is there like a sort of a different metabolism? Like they don't really need much water, and they don't have a lot of salt in their environment. They're eating nose to tail. They're getting a lot of electrolytes from blood, and they're eating the brain. Like, have you ever thought about this? Because they just don't drink much water. They went in a puddle. They'll drink muddy water. They didn't bring water. They don't have water
No, no, no.
bottles.
I mean, I've thought about this a lot. In fact, I was talking about, the fourth post I ever wrote was the context of calories. Probably the eighth post I wrote was um, on the human thirst mechanism, and how it's perfect, and how this notion that we should be bringing a 2-gallon jug of water with us everywhere we go and finishing it before the end of the day and pissing clear is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I have a particular affinity for this topic because I was always a low sweat guy. Like, if I was going to ride, when I was a triathlete, if I was going to ride my bike less than 2 hours, I wouldn't bring a water bottle.
Mm,
And
wow.
we'd be doing mountain climbs in LA, and, up Latigo and up the canyons and down in 2 hours. And if it was less than 2 hours, I wouldn't bring a water bottle. I would never, I wouldn't drink it. I wouldn't be thirsty. So I don't get thirsty. I don't like regular water. As a matter of fact, I've got, just to wet my whistle here, if my throat cracks, if I'm doing a
Yeah.
long podcast, I drink sparkling water because I don't like the taste of regular water. I'm never thirsty for water, and so I do force myself to drink a little bit more. And I'm in the south of France where it's 80 plus degrees, and again on my long workout today, yeah, I sweated, but I don't sweat profusely. So I have so now back to the Hadza. If you look at our ancestors, and they're a prototypical ancestral tribe. They're one of the few remaining examples we have of maybe what our ancestors looked like 50,000 years ago. You know, they didn't carry 50. Imagine 50,000 years ago going across the savannah or the plains of Africa with no water, hunting a beast in the heat, and not having. You don't have a camelback or a fanny pack or a bota bag or anything like that to carry water in. Yeah, you would stop and lick the dew off a leaf, or you would take a few handfuls of muddy water from a stream or from a puddle. That was the reality of human life for most of human history. And so to think that we somehow we would optimize our health by drinking so much that every piss we take is clear is I think it's antithetical to health to look at it that way. So now where does that bring us with regard to electrolytes? And Rob's a friend of ours, and he's doing very well with Element. The company's doing, James and the whole group are doing
Yeah.
incredibly well. It's just packaged electrolytes, right? It's just magnesium and sodium and potassium. And I think what's interesting is because we come at this now from a civilized world where people are out of shape, where they've had access to water on demand their whole life, where they've been consuming a grain-based diet, which I would argue a grain-based diet increases the need for electrolyte supplementation because grains have phytates that bind with minerals and can assist with their early exit from the body. So if we look at the Hadza who don't have processed foods and don't eat a lot of grains and eat a lot of nose to tail and don't do chronic cardio, they're out living their lives, but as Ponzer says, they don't burn more calories than the average, human in the US who doesn't even work out that much. So their bodies have settled into an energy output that seems to be now across all humans kind of a standard metric. So I would not argue that we have to drink a lot of water. I would argue that if our diets are corrected in terms of getting rid of processed foods, like you say, and we're eating more natural foods, that we don't need that much in the way of electrolyte replacement, that we don't need that much in the way of water, of hydration on an hourly basis throughout the day, and that if you don't pee clear, that does not mean you're not healthy. In the wintertime, you go out in the woods in the snow in the wintertime, and every animal that you're tracking has peed bright yellow. So it's not like they're drinking all the water and they're healthy as a result of that.
I
So
I I agree. No, these guys, they preserved our ancient metabolism. I think, yeah, we have a different kind of body now from all these years of eating processed foods, and they they barely sweat, they barely drink water. It's about efficiency where they don't waste water in their body. They don't waste electrolytes. I think, yeah, drinking too much water, you're diluting your electrolytes. It's kind of
exactly.
opposite of what you wanna do.
No, I mean, Tim Noakes wrote a book about this um, years ago, and it was about people who read so much about how important it was to hydrate in these long races that they would overhydrate and get hyponatremia and then die of a brain aneurysm or something or brain swelling because of the electrolyte imbalance from having consumed too much
Water.
water in
Is
a
it called
long
waterlogged?
race. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Waterlogged. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me, and yeah, the body is just so efficient, it knows what it's doing, and so, yeah, it was just cool to see. I was with them 4 years ago, and we filmed, and, well, we almost died because we didn't have water. We didn't have enough water. They were
Yeah, they're
adapted
fine.
just
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
But, it kinda leads to another thing with the sun. They're out there living with the sun. It's a hot topic these days that there's a lot of these spray sunscreens with toxic ingredients that are actually, there's studies that show that they have problems. So, I'm not against sunscreen. I use like a beef tallow, like zinc. There's healthier versions of sunscreens, but this whole topic's a bit crazy these days because some people, it's kind of like the water thing. Oh, more water's good. Let's just drink 1,000 liters of water a day. It's like people think, oh, the sun is fine, which it is. We've lived with it for all of history. So I'm just gonna bake out there, which I also don't think is true because you and I both have problems with skin cancer, our family history. I've had some things burned off. And so I wanted to bring some nuance to the sun discussion with you.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Maine in a northern climate. I'm blue-eyed, fair-skinned. I spent a lot of time in the sun from an early age. I was, as a kid, I was, outside a lot in the summers. As a teenager, I painted houses, and I painted houses outside for almost 15 years, with my shirt off, with shorts on, in the sun every day. So I got a lot of tans, a lot of the occasional burn, but not a horrible burn. I probably have had maybe one horrible burn in my lifetime. I was in college, and we it was spring break, and we drove 23 hours straight to Fort Lauderdale, and got there at 9 o'clock in the morning and fell asleep on the beach. So that was my one big summer. Um, I spend a lot of time out in the sun now. I don't try to, but if I'm paddling or if I'm on my bike, I put on a 45 on my face. I try to put some sort of a sunscreen on exposed parts of my body, and I still get a lot of sun. I still get, and I don't lay out at all. If I'm at the beach in Miami, I'm under an umbrella the whole time I'm out in
Mhm.
the sun with friends. And yet I do get the reflective off the sand. I get a deep color, and I get accused on the internet when I show pictures of myself with my shirt off of not wearing sunscreen. Well, part of that is just the filter on the camera. Part of it is the oil that I'm using, which has sort of an orange tint to it, so it's like a little bit of a bias toward
Mm.
a tan. And so, having said that, I mean, I don't I never get burned. I haven't gotten burned in the last 15 years, but I'm still at the effect of the decades I spent in my youth being outside in the sun. So I have a dermatologist who I go see on a every couple of months, every 3 to 6 months, and I get something burned off, some prophylactically burned off, some little thing that looks like it might turn into something someday. Let's just hit it with some acid and burn it off. They're called actinic keratoses, and that's been my strategy for the last 10 or 15 years. Just go see this
Mhm.
guy, and I'm still a fan of regular sun exposure, and I do try to protect myself when I've been out longer than I probably should have, whether it's wearing long sleeve shirts or a bandana. I don't wear hats that much, but I wear a headband or something to get my forehead. Yeah, but I still think more people suffer from lack of sunlight than suffer from too much sunlight.
I think so, and I did get bad sunburns. I grew up playing football and track, and the back of my neck would get roasted. Like I would just get actual sunburns. I was also in Hawaii, and so I had something removed from the back of my neck. Yeah, I just wanted to like let people know it's like more is not better. Just because the sun is good doesn't mean more is better. Say even with beef tallow, people are like, "Yeah, yeah, beef tallow is great." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the healthiest fat. It's a way healthier than the seed oils and stuff." But then they think it's like a superfood. They're just
Yeah,
dumping it on things,
yeah,
and I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no! It's not more is better."
yeah,
Like sun does cause skin cancer, but there's more to it. I think it's sort of a mismatch of the solar callus, right? It's like if you're not ready for it, and
yeah,
then you get burned. And so most people they're just not even ready for it. If you're doing the sun you recommend, which I've been doing for many many years, is you get safe sun 40 minutes. I'm out there getting it, then you can build up some
yes,
protection.
yeah,
Well, yeah, I just wanted to bring that. So I'm glad you agree. The last thing, I was thinking about the Hadza too, and how they are out there. I grew up barefoot, so I was just thinking about their feet, and I know people should know you have Peluva. It's your shoe company that has the 5 toes, and so I want to talk a little bit more about that. We actually did a full episode on it. If you
yeah.
go back in my Peak Human list, you can find Mark Sisson. I don't know, a year or two ago.
Mhm.
So update us. Yeah, what's going on, and kind of like, yeah, just let's talk some foot.
Well, I mean, it's going great, and we're so successful that we're constantly running out of product.
Mm,
We had a meeting in October, November of last year, and predicting our sales for this year, and we thought, Jesus, that's pretty aggressive. We got to predict because these shoes are expensive. Most of them come from Vietnam, and some come from China, and it takes a long time to get them. And we're constantly running out of product because our people not only are loving the shoes, and the testimonials we get are like tear-jerking testimonials,
mm.
life-changing stuff, but now people are buying multiple pairs for themselves and for their family. So it's on a very strong trajectory, because I think the world is waking up to the fact that foot health is so critical. Like, your feet are your contact, your connection with your environment, your connection with the earth, and it's this proprioception, this way we move through the world, that requires that the feet have some sensitivity, some sensibility, some sense of what's going on underneath them. This ground feel that we talk about, and that not just making the shoes thinner so you can feel the the cobblestones and the cracks in the sidewalk and all the cool stuff that you step on. We call that foot candy, but that your
Mhm.
toes will articulate individually and accommodate the surface that you're walking on, and that we will use all of the small muscles, what we call the intrinsic muscles of the feet, to get them stronger and rebuild the arch. That the big toe needs to splay outward. The big toe needs to be fully engaged and fully, because in order to activate the glutes, the big toe needs to be brought into the equation. If you're wearing regular shoes that have pushed the big toe against the rest of the toes, you lose all of this glute activation, and it can compromise your gait, and it can weaken the muscles in your feet. So you want the big toe to be able to be the last point of contact, whether you're walking or running or jumping. The big toe should be the last point of contact with the ground, and most people don't never get to experience that. So our new kind of marketing thing is reconnect with life, reconnect with yourself, rediscover the connection that you have with the earth and with the people around you, by improving your foot health and enjoying movement, enjoying every step you take should bring a smile to your face.
Hmm.
Not a grimace of pain because of the shoes you're wearing.
I mean, that's how I grew up. Yeah, I mean, grew up barefoot. I thought I would get slower if I wore shoes. I was all about sprinting my whole
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
and it was just so fun. It's just, yeah, you're running around barefoot, and your shoes kind of allow you to do that as an adult, it seems.
yes, yes.
Well, that's great. Your team gave me a code Sapien. I guess we have a little discount if you
Good.
use the Sapien code. And yeah, I still have mine. I You told me last time to not sprint in them. I think I was being a little too aggressive with the
Yeah, you could
sprinting.
have been. I mean, what happens is because you sprinted as a kid barefoot, and then you didn't for a long time as an adult, and then your brain remembered being a kid and you wanted to sprint like you did when you're a kid, but realizing that you've been wearing restrictive, cushioned, thick shoes for the last 30 years,
Mhm.
and your feet have literally atrophied. And then you think you're going to go out there and day one go out and do some sprints. So we tell people, look, these do not run in these shoes. Now, wink, wink, they're the best running shoes you'll ever wear if you know how to run. But don't run in these shoes. Get very used to them. Hike in them. I mean, today, as I said, I hiked for an hour. It was incredible. I ran a little bit. I was wearing the ATRs, which is the hiking version of our shoe. I don't know if anybody can see what you're doing here, but that's the ATR.
Mm,
So it's got a little bit more tread
yeah.
on it. Um, and every step I take, I can feel the muscles of my feet getting worked out, getting stronger, and it's a good thing. It's a good feeling. It's. I want my feet to be resilient. I want my ankle to be able to roll a lot to the outside without spraining, because that's how it's designed. But because we encase our feet for so many decades in restrictive shoes, the muscles of the ankle get atrophied. And then when we step in a chuck hole or a pothole and we roll an ankle, then we actually suffer from it. So we're trying to build, more resilient feet with these shoes, and we want, again, people to reconnect with the surface of the earth and appreciate this amazing thing that we have, which enables us to move around the face of the planet and enjoy, other people, because we're connected to them and we're connected to ourselves, we're connected to the earth. So we're all about connection now, Brian.
Mhm. I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna try again because I think I did kinda hurt my calf when I was sprinting in them after our podcast,
Yeah.
but, now I just gotta get more used to it. I don't do much hiking in Austin, there's not great hiking here. When I go to Hawaii, that's when I wanna do it, and I think I'm gonna kinda get my feet ready for that.
Yep.
And, yeah, even do some sprinting. Yeah, just with the Hadza, they have these weird sandals, I think they make them out of tires or not them, they trade. So the Hadza, it's kinda sad, they have less and less land, they have less and less animals, and then they're trading for salt now, I heard. So now,
Mm.
since I've seen them, I've heard they have more salt coming in, and they get candy and stuff from tourists, and then they get these weird sandals that they use that they trade for.
Yeah.
So but at least do you think sandals are better than shoes? Because I mean, at
No,
least
I
no?
don't. I mean, depending on how you lace them up. I mean, they're if the sandals have enough, you know, thong lacing around the foot and holding them in place. But flip flops, no, flip flops are horrible for foot health. But the sandals that the Hadza race in, or that the Tarahumara race, would do the Copper Canyons of Mexico, the kind that Barefoot Ted, made, or that Steven Sashin made initially with zero shoes, those are fine. Those are good.
Mm,
But if people are thinking about sandals and flip flops, nah, I wouldn't go there.
okay, yeah, so so you're saying that the Hadza have the special, the correct
Yeah, they
okay.
have to. They have to have the ones that go around the ankle and go. Their entire foot is secured to the bottom of the sandal, not just the flip flop type of thing where your
Okay, good.
big toes are having to do all the work to
Yeah, that hold it.
scrunch it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
hold
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, good stuff. I'm actually turning 42 tomorrow.
Oh,
You're 30 years
congrats.
ahead of me.
Yeah, you're
Very
never gonna catch
close.
up, Ryan.
I won't. But, yeah, I'm feeling very fit, and I'll do a little photo shoot myself and
Cool.
show people my progress and
Good.
updates. But, yeah, thanks for coming back, and, yeah, maybe probably see you at the next conference.
For sure.